And we'll get started.
Also,
Thank you very much. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, December 9th, and the court is reconvening after a break of a couple of hours because we now have a witness who's ready to be presented. And I think, Ms. Service, this is going to be your witness. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And this is the first witness from your side of the caption, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much. You may call your witness.
We call Leslie Asman.
And before you sit down, let me swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are giving in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trudell. I'm sorry, I just walked away from the microphone and that was my mistake. Were you able to pick me up?
yeah, yep.
Okay. Now, please tell us your first and last names and spell your first and last names for the court reporter.
Leslie Asman, Leslie Asman.
Thank you very much, Ms. Asman. And whenever you're ready, Ms. Service, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Asman, where are you employed?
I'm employed at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
What is your position there?
I am Bureau Director of the Legal Affairs Administration,
What's your highest level of education?
Juris Doctorate.
Are you currently a licensed attorney
Yes, I am.
in Michigan?
In Michigan and Texas.
When did you first start working with the Department of Health and Human Services?
I started working with the department in 2013.
In what year did you become a licensed attorney?
2005.
And between 2005 and 2013, could you give us a quick rundown of your employment history during that time?
Sure. I worked as a research attorney for a probate court judge in Livingston County. I was promoted to probate register, and then I went to the state court administrative office as the probate analyst for a little bit, where my husband and I transferred to Texas, took the bar exam, passed, basically, and worked as a second as a bankruptcy attorney, and then I found a company that was actually a vendor of the Michigan Department of Community Health at the time, who needed a Michigan licensed probate or Michigan licensed attorney that had probate experience. It was just very oddly specific to me. So,
Since 2013, what positions have you held at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services?
I started off as a contract employee through the Michigan Public Health Institute, and I was an administrative law specialist. I was made into a full-time employee 2 years later. And then in 2016, I was a state administrative manager, and then I was promoted to bureau director in 2019.
DHHS does a lot of different subject matters. Have there been any particular subject areas that you've worked on?
Yes. 2013 was kind of a transformative year for the department. We were implementing the Affordable Care Act. Medicaid expansion had just passed that year. We were prepping to implement the home and community-based service rule that had just been finalized. 2013, we had another application for participation where we reduced the 18 PIHPs down to 10. So when I started, I was drinking out of the fire hose. And so it created just kind of this niche experience of this overlap between behavioral health and Medicaid.
Are you aware of the 2025 RFP?
Yes.
How are you aware of that?
I am on the steering committee, and I was consulted when the department was reviewing options.
What's the steering committee?
Steering committee is oversees. So there's three parts of the group that's been working on the RFP. So there's the subject matter experts, but we heard testimony from Ms. Smith Butterworth. She's the SUD expert. And then there's the core team that actually does like all the hands-on work, working all week. And then there's a steering committee that takes recommendations from the core team and the subject matter experts and makes decisions on how to implement.
Did you attend meetings about the RFP as it was being developed?
Yes, I did.
Did you send and receive emails about the RFP?
Yes, I did.
Is it fair to say you participated in the development of the RFP?
Yes, I did.
Have you reviewed the RFP in full?
Yes, I have.
Are you familiar with its contents?
Yes, I am.
At this time, has the state awarded any bids from the RFP?
No, they have not.
Has the state engaged in any contract negotiations with prospective bidders?
No, they have not.
Has the state executed any fiscal year 27 contracts yet for PIHPs?
No, they have not.
Do you have any knowledge of whether the current 10 PIHPs are still in operation?
They are still in operation, although 5 of them are under transition contracts.
Do you have any knowledge of whether the 46 CMHSPs are currently still in operation?
They are still in operation.
As somebody who participated in the development of the RFP, do you have any knowledge on the reasons the state issued this RFP?
Yes, I am.
Is there more than one reason?
Yes, there is.
So take them one at a time. What would you say the first reason is?
Your Honor, I'm just going to object to the relevance. I thought the reasons for the issuance were beyond the scope of this proceeding.
Well, let me put it this way. It was a major focus of the first opinion that I wrote. It's not so much a focus now, given the fact that I've made those decisions, but I wouldn't mind hearing some of the background. I'm not saying I'm going to go back and revisit what I've already decided, but it helps to understand that. So I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I mean, in some senses, this is a battle you've already fought and won.
Sure.
So the first issue, I think, that made the department start thinking about a competitive procurement was the 5 contracts that did not get signed.
And are you talking about the fiscal year 2025 PIHP contracts?
Yes, I am.
Are there any other reasons that you're aware of that the state decided to issue this RFP?
Yes, we are operating our specialty behavioral health carve out through an 1115 demonstration waiver. It expired September 30th of 2024, and CMS is not renewing it because of a number of reasons. One is because we're not in compliance with the conflict-free access and planning requirement for 1915I state plan H home and community-based services rule. We can't demonstrate budget neutrality under the waiver, and there is an issue with CCBHCs, but I'm not familiar with that one.
Can I stop you for just a
Yeah.
second? You said the expiration of the demonstration waiver. Is that the waiver we've been hearing so much about that's been in place for a couple of decades?
So there has been a lot of talk about the 1915B waiver. We transitioned from the 1915B waiver over to an 1115 demonstration in 2019, I want to believe is the first year.
And this is the exception from the competitive procurement process?
No, that exception didn't transfer. That was in the 1915B.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other reasons you're aware of that the state decided to issue this RFP?
Their concerns have been brought to CMS about administrative duplication. We have, I want to say 27 years of hearing the same recurrent themes about the system, that it's duplicating administrative functions, that services aren't getting to people. I know my director is hauled in front of the legislature all the time, getting yelled at about the system not serving the people. The advocates have been coming to us. They've been begging for changes.
When you say administrative duplication, what do you mean?
I mean, so the idea of managed care is to consolidate administrative function. So we have 10 PIHPs who then delegate. Well, 7 PIHPs delegate down to 46 different DMHSPs. So I'll just pick on Mid-State because they're here and they testified against us. Sorry, Joe. He has a contract with the state and he's delegated, I want to say, 80% of his functions down to 12 different CMHSPs. The 12 CMHSPs have to build the infrastructure to do all those managed care functions. So now we have 13 entities doing managed care functions. There's no cost efficiency. There's no cost transparency. There's no accountability. And there's no uniformity of services across the region. It's just a really fragmented system.
Are there any other reasons you're aware of that the state decided to issue this RFP?
I think that's the majority of the reasons. There could be others.
There's been some talk in this case about conflict of interest. Are you aware of any concerns about conflict of interest?
There's multiple concerns about conflict of interest.
What are you aware of?
There's concerns about the CMH sitting on the governing board of the PIHP. So they are basically monitoring and policing themselves. And I can give the court an example if that's helpful of why that's a problem. I want to say in 2018, maybe have my years wrong. We had a PIHP that was in serious financial mismanagement to the point that we were going to terminate that PIHP contract. They went through the administrative process. It got delayed. COVID came. But through that audit, we did an audit of them. And through that audit, we saw that one CMHSP was just burning through the money like crazy. And it wasn't consistent with any other CMHSP in the region. And so we asked to do a fiscal audit of that CMHSP. So that CEO brings that to the board. Well, they sit on the board, so they vote against it. So we can't get in and see the transparency of their costs and what they're actually spending their money on.
Ms. Osmond, are you familiar with something called an EQI report?
Yes, I am.
What is an EQI report?
It's an encounter quality indicator or initiative.
Did you have occasion to work on a project related to this litigation involving the EQI reports?
Yes, I have.
What was that project?
We received the EQIs from our actuarial division, and we started, a colleague of mine or an employee of mine, and I looked at the EQIs. I think we looked at tab 6, and we were looking at service costs for similar services. So we looked at if there was a CMHSP service cost and also a provider network cost. And we wanted to compare what the differential was between the CMHSP cost and the provider network cost.
So we'll get there in a minute, but let me ask you some more questions about the EQI report. Who submits information that's put on EQI reports?
The CMHs and the PIHP,
Who do they submit that to?
the department.
Is that submission of information part of the regular course of business of CMHSPs?
Yes, it is.
Is it kept in the regular course of business of the Department of Health and Human Services?
Yes, it is.
Does DHHS maintain those EQI reports in its own internal system?
Yes, we do.
Those EQI reports that DHHS maintains in its internal system, are those the EQI reports you used for this project you just started talking about?
Yes, they are.
Are those, tell us about the volume and how big these EQI reports are.
They're about voluminous. They would be too big to print or produce.
Are the EQI reports something that DHHS has maintained since the point in time that the CMHSPs and PIHPs have submitted them to the department?
Yes.
Now, to go back to the process that you were talking about, reviewing EQI reports. You mentioned that you looked at a tab 6. Can you tell us more about that?
Tab 6 shows, so it will say like therapy, and then it will say CMH cost per unit, unit billed, total amount expended, and then it will do the same thing for the provider, contracted provider.
Did you look at anything else as part of this project?
Yes, we also looked at tab 5 because that actually had the service codes. So there could be different service codes under therapy. So we wanted to make sure we were looking at the same service code across the board to make sure that the comparison was consistent and apples to apples.
Did you do anything else to prepare this project?
We talked to our actuaries, Milliman. We walked through what our understanding of the numbers were and just to verify that we were interpreting it correctly.
And to go back to when you're saying we, who is we?
Andrea Reiser, who reports up to me, is an attorney. We work together on this.
What involvement did you have in this project personally?
I worked side by side with her via Teams. But we got the reports. We both would dig in, we would meet, we would discuss them, then we would share screens and like, is this what you're seeing? Is this what you're seeing? This is what I'm looking at, this is what I'm looking at. And we went back and forth like that for over a week.
Did you participate in that call with the actuary?
Yes, I did.
May I approach the witness?
You may, of course, yes.
This doesn't have a base number.
Ms. Asman, do you
I'm sorry,
recognize?
do I have a binder of exhibits?
We did not produce a binder of exhibits.
Oh, do I have a copy of this?
Let me.
Sorry. I didn't want to be left out. Everybody else had one, so I thought I probably
No problem. I
should
just
too.
wasn't sure if the court wanted it before I admitted it.
Oh, no, that's okay, fine.
Ms. Osmond, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is this document?
This is a summary table of some of the data we found in the EQI.
Who prepared this summary?
Andrea.
Is this the summary as part of the project that you worked on with Andrea?
Yes, I mean, we went back and forth on it.
Is this document that I handed you a true and accurate reflection of the summary that you testified that you created?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for admission of defendant's proposed exhibit A.
Okay,
Your
let
Honor,
let me mark it as A. Okay, now go ahead, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, we do have an objection. If I can voir dire the witness on this document for.
Sure, of course. Yep. Oh, let me stop your clock here.
Ms. Asman, you testified Ms. Reiser created this, is that right?
She created the tables and then I went back and verified the numbers independently. So it was a back and forth.
Yeah, but these are the tables that Ms. Reiser prepared, correct?
I mean, she created the spreadsheet.
And it was prepared based on summary of EQI reports, is that right?
No, it was created based off the actual EQI report.
Okay, the actual EQI reports, and those actual EQI reports, my understanding is that those reports are prepared by Milliman, is that right?
I misspoke in my deposition. They're
Because you
very,
did testify that they were prepared by Milliman, correct?
I was able to get some clarification. They are submitted to us by the CMHSPs, to our actuaries, and then we give them over to Milliman.
Who with the CMHSP prepares these EQI reports?
I couldn't tell you.
You know, how do they prepare the EQI reports?
I could not tell you. But this is the data they give us and the data we can work with.
Your Honor, I would object on a couple of bases. Number one is the underlying reports themselves are you're saying, she's using them to prove the truth of what they're trying to show here in terms of cost data, number one. Number two, there's no foundation for any authentication on the underlying reports. And I acknowledge that MRA 1006 allows a summary, but it also requires, according to Hoffman versus Auto Club, that the underlying data has to be admissible. And there's absolutely no foundation for the underlying data. So we would object there.
Right.
consolidated mission.
You read my mind. I had just gone to 1006. I haven't seen this rule of evidence invoked in a while, but
Yep. Hoffman versus Auto Club.
Yeah,
It says
right.
that the underlying data has to be admissible, and these underlying lab reports are.
okay. Ms. Service.
Just for the record, Your Honor, any piece of the data that relates to data prepared by the plaintiffs in this case would not be hearsay, if that's what Mr. Ryan's objection
Right,
is.
it's
those
statement
would
of a
not-
party opponent. No, let me stop and make sure I understand what we're talking about. As I understand it, this is supposed to be a summary of data taken from EQI reports, right?
Correct.
And my notes indicate that the EQI reports are prepared by the CMHSPs. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
All right, so the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services doesn't prepare these reports. It's merely the repository of these reports submitted by the CMHSPs. Is that accurate?
Correct in the regular course of business.
Okay, so we're not trying to get those records in any event, but I think Mr. Ryan's concern, which I'm not sure I share yet, is that the underlying EQI reports are inadmissible and therefore a summary of them is inadmissible because you can't take inadmissible evidence, summarize it and make it admissible, right? We can agree on that proposition.
I can agree on that proposition.
All right, so, and I think what you're saying is the EQI reports are admissible because no matter what else they may be, whether they're business records or not, admissible over a hearsay objection under 803-6 or 803-8, I guess they're not public records, 803-6. It doesn't matter anyway, because by definition, they're not hearsay because they're statements of a party opponent, specifically all the CMHSPs that are participating in this litigation.
Correct. I think that's the first step. So for the plaintiffs, they're not hearsay. And then if they were hearsay for some reason, they would come in under 803-6.
Right. I'm just trying to understand every theory of admissibility here. Okay. And you want to say anything else about the summary? Because I flipped to 1006 anticipating that's exactly where you were going.
And the other thing I'll say is we did provide a copy of the underlying EQIs to plaintiffs' counsel last week as required by 1006.
Oh, the EQIs, not just the summary?
Correct.
Gosh, okay. All right, Mr. Ryan, I'll give you one more shot, but it sure seems like they're admissible.
Yeah, so let me point out, if you look at this proposed exhibit A, the first page is Genesee Health System, CMHSP.
Okay.
Genesee Health System is not a party to this litigation. The second page, Sanilac County CMHSP. Sanilac County CMHSP is not a party to this litigation.
Right.
We can go on, Lifeway.
Yeah, St. Clair.
CMHSP. So,
Right.
I mean, party opponent, not all these people are parties.
Right.
This is a summary of a bunch of CMHSPs that are not a party to this litigation.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to admit this document, not because they're statement of party opponents, but rather because the underlying documents, the EQIs, are business records admissible over a hearsay objection under 803-6 of the Michigan Rules of Evidence. I'm satisfied under 1006 that a summary is appropriate in this circumstance. Clearly, we have voluminous records. I think the witnesses testified that they're so voluminous that they can't even be printed out. But you've represented to the court that you've made these EQIs available to opposing counsel, correct?
We did electronically because of the printing.
I got it.
problem.
All right. I'm going to admit this over an objection. The objection's preserved, but I find that the underlying documents, that is the EQIs, are admissible. And because they're admissible, we don't have a problem so long as this is an accurate summary. And at least for the moment, I believe that they're an accurate summary. If they prove not to be, then I can change my mind in admissibility. But this strikes me as exactly the sort of situation where 1006 should allow a summary. Go ahead.
Ms. Osmond, can you walk the court through how that summary chart is set up?
Sure. So you see on the left side, there's a service category. So that would be therapy. As I mentioned, we made sure that if we were comparing therapy, it had to be under the same service billing code. The next column is CMH billed units. You can see, and I'm looking at the first line on the first page, that the CMH billed 74 units. The CMH net expenditure was $1,244,936. And their cost per unit was $16,823.
And just to be clear though, and I'm sorry, but I want to make sure that I have this right. We're talking about Genesee Health System here, which is not a party to this litigation.
So
So are you offering this as illustrative rather
illustrative,
than?
yeah.
All right. So it's not, it doesn't specifically pertain to any of the clients involved in this
So
case.
we tried to get, we couldn't do all 46 CMHs. We wanted to get,
I just can't hear the witness piece
Oh.
talking so loud.
oh, sorry, I'm quiet, sorry. We were trying to get just a kind of a sample of the CMHs. Obviously, we couldn't do all 46 before today's hearing. So we took 3 that our actuaries could provide to us fairly easily.
But just to be clear, these 3 CMHSPs are not parties to this litigation, any of them.
There's one of them, I mean,
okay.
at least ISK is in here. St. Clair. I think that might be the only 2.
Right.
that
It
are-
doesn't make it inadmissible, but Mr. Ryan, please understand. To my mind, this particular problem goes to weight, not admissibility, but it's a significant weight problem to me. I mean, to show that there are misbehaving CMHSPs, but they're not the ones involved in this litigation is far less valuable than to show that these particular CMHSPs involved in this litigation have engaged in things that look aberrant. Okay? All right, go ahead.
And Ms. Osmond, are those, some of the CMHSPs in that summary report, do those fall under the PIHP plaintiffs in this case?
Yes, they all fall under the PIHP plaintiffs. All
Oh,
the
you're
CMHs.
talking about up the line.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I got it.
So if you go, you see that CMH provided 74 units.
Sorry, I didn't hear a question.
No, yeah, why don't we start again? Ms. Service, why don't you go ahead and ask a question?
Could you please keep walking the court through the summary report?
Sure. So CMH provided 74 units for $1.2 million at 16,823 unit cost per unit. And then in the next column, you'll see that the provider billed 6 units under the same service code of therapy for the cost of 7,900. And the cost per unit is 1,316. The differential is 1,178% difference between what the CMH is attributing their cost to the provider.
As you look at the summary report in whole, is that a trend that you saw where the CMHSPs had much higher cost for the same service than did their network providers?
It is definitely a trend. We kept fidelity to the data, so you will see that there are times where the provider network is more expensive, like the next line down. They charged more per unit for assessments and testing in this region. But by and large, it's between 80 and 800% higher.
As the Bureau Director of the Office of Legal Affairs, do you have any concerns about this information?
I do.
What are-
relevance?
Are we getting back to the reasons that they went to a competitive procurement system, or are we talking about some other basis for relevance here?
I think not necessarily the reasons that they went to, but she testified earlier about like financial concerns and transparency type concerns.
All right, I'll allow it, but the focus of this hearing, just to be clear, is whether, and you've stated this well yourself,
Fair,
whether the RFP is in compliance with Michigan law.
fair. And last question on that, then what are those concerns?
It just shows huge discrepancy in the cost of services. It would speak to the inability to have cohesive service availability across our region. It raises concerns for me on what is built into the cost of the CMH net expenditure. We did a standard cost allocation project in recent years where we needed to standardize administrative costs, in particular Medicaid managed care expenditures. And there was significant pushback from the CMHSPs because they had typically baked in their managed care administrative expenses into the cost of service. So this raises questions to me on whether they're still doing that outside of department contracts and guidance. It also raises concerns to me about how the CMH as both payer and provider, how they decide what they can pay themselves, what services they decide they want to keep, how many services they want to provide, and also how they decide what to pay their providers.
As somebody who participated in the development of the RFP, are you aware of whether DHHS considers this RFP to fix those issues you've just been testifying about over the last few minutes?
Yes, it does.
How so?
One, it would remove the managed care layer from the CMH SPs, so they wouldn't be able to decide what they get to pay providers, decide what they get to pay themselves, decide what services they want to keep, decide what services they want to farm out. It would all be held at one or two PIHPs, and it would be more consistent, cohesive. It would have a lot more transparency into the actual cost of services.
Before issuing the RFP, did DHHS consider the past experiences it had with other PIHPs?
Yes, it did.
Are you aware that plaintiffs have raised various challenges to the terms of the RFP and whether they conform with Michigan law?
I am aware.
Do you know whether in issuing the RFP, DHHS considered Michigan law?
Yes, it did.
How do you know that?
I considered it and advised my leadership.
As you understand it, did DHHS intend for anything in the RFP to violate Michigan law?
It did not, and I can go a step further and guarantee that Director Hertel reporting to Governor Whitmer will not intentionally violate any Michigan law.
I'm gonna move to strike that portion of the testimony, Judge.
Yeah, I'll strike it. That's fine. I mean, and I appreciate, I've always taken the position because all of the governmental departments I deal with have always been in compliance with court orders when they've been ordered to do so, that they will follow court orders. I certainly don't attribute to anybody an intention to violate state law. Thank you.
Ms. Osmond, are you aware that plaintiffs have alleged that the RFP's non-delegation of managed care functions violates Michigan law?
Yes,
As part of your work on the development of the RFP, did you become aware of whether DHHS takes a position on that?
I believe DHHS does not agree with that position.
Do you know why not?
Objection, Your Honor. We're getting very, very close to her offering opinion testimony.
It's
and-
not just that, it's starting to sound like attorney-client privilege.
Well, they've waived attorney-client privilege,
Right,
but.
I understand.
Yeah. But-
Right, my ears perked up at that question as well.
Yeah, she's not allowed to render opinion testimony
Yeah,
on
right.
whether the RFP complies with Michigan law.
Well, presumably, of course they believe it because their attorneys are here taking that position. I get it.
Your Honor, the screen went blank. Oh, it came back. Sorry, I didn't know if we
Right.
lost the court reporter.
Go ahead, Ms. Service. Let's not get an answer to that question. I'm sure they believe they're in compliance with Michigan law.
Ms. Osmond, were you in court yesterday when the CMH witnesses were talking about multiple funding streams per beneficiary?
Yes, I was.
And did you hear the witnesses testify about the difficulties they expect to have under the RFP
Yes.
related to that braided funding?
Yes, I did.
Are there other instances in which CMHSPs deal with braided funding?
Yes, there are.
What are some examples of that?
So we have a number of assistance programs housed within Department of Health and Human Services. I think we have a $37 billion budget. CMHs have to work with other entities. They have to work with Michigan Rehabilitation Supports. They don't need to hold the paying contract to work with MRS. They have to work with My Choice agencies, which is another home and community-based service waiver program. They don't have to hold a payer contract to work with My Choice agencies or the area agencies on aging. They don't need to hold a payer contract to work with the ISD school districts or our public health entities. There's a number of health and human services entities out there, other service providers, where they don't hold the contract and the payer contract. And we can still coordinate care.
And can I just ask you a question? I think I know what the answer is. When you use the term braided funding, it's the same as the metaphor for braiding hair. You have different sources all woven together.
That's correct.
Okay. I thought that was it, but I thought I ought to get it for the record. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Service.
What effect will the, forget the word we were saying yesterday, the architect of the RFP, what effect does that have on the recipient rights system?
Recipient rights is in a Medicaid managed care function, so it should have no effect on the recipient rights system.
What effect would the architect of the RFP, if it were to go into place, have on substance use disorder services?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to foundation. I don't know that there's been any foundation laid for her knowledge of how substance use disorder services are delivered.
Do you want to try to lay some foundation, Ms. Service?
Do you have any knowledge of how substance use disorder services are delivered in Michigan?
Yes,
Are you aware of how the RFP treats substance use disorder services?
yes.
How does it treat substance use disorder services?
That they must be provided by a department designated community mental health entity.
How will that be operationalized in practice?
There are a number of different options, legal options that we could operationalize that. We could have the PIHP if it's not a CMHSP or a regional entity. We could have them contracts with a different CMH or a different DMAG. We could have, there could possibly be a situation where the awarding contract goes to a CMHSP or a regional entities that are therefore making this issue moot. I think there's other flexibilities under the mental health code, whereas if the contracting possibilities didn't exist, we do have the authority to set up pilot programs. I think too, limiting the definition to just those three types unnecessarily binds the department in terms of context, because in terms of, to the extent that they're Medicaid covered, I would argue that Medicaid managed care rules preempt state law rules, and we have to follow Medicaid managed care rules to draw down federal financial participation.
Objection. Again, I think she's offering a legal opinion. She's not allowed to do that.
Well, right. It's fair to say that she has not been qualified as an expert. She hasn't been offered as an expert, but you're right. All right, I'll strike that last sentence, but everything else stands.
Ms. Osmond, are you aware of how civil admission systems work in Michigan?
Yes,
Are you aware of how the RFP treats civil admissions?
the RFP pulls out pre-admission screening units and keeps that with the CMHSPs.
You say with CMHSPs, what does that mean?
Sorry, that was unclear. So right now, the CMHSPs are responsible to do the pre-admission screenings for involuntary petitions for treatment. To the extent that those would be considered a managed care functions, we're allowing that to continue. And it's not prohibited under the non-delegable.
So I presume that includes contacts with hospitals, right?
It does.
But not contractual relations.
Not financial contracts with hospitals, because that would go with the PIHP, but they could still have agreements with hospitals. They could still coordinate care with hospitals.
Ms. Osmond, are you drawing a distinction between a financial contract and any other type of contract?
Yes, I am.
How so?
So the Medicaid managed care provider contracts have the funding associated with it. And they are responsible to manage costs, make them cost effective. When we go down to fewer PIHPs, those PIHPs will have better bargaining power because they'll have bigger regions. They'll be able to manage costs more effectively. And there's nothing in the cost contract that requires collaboration, coordination, any of those things. It's really just cost and management of cost and making sure that the cost is effective and efficient. Other agreements with other hospitals or entities, there's nothing that would prohibit them from entering into any sort of agreement to collaborate, to coordinate. And that's similar to how it works in the physical health world too. My doctor doesn't hold the payer contracts when he refers me out to a specialist.
Your Honor, we're a little far from the question here.
Okay, go ahead and ask another question, Ms. Curtis.
Under the RFP, could CMHSPs enter into those non-financial contracts you just testified about?
Yes,
Was it the intent of DHHS to shut out the CMHSPs?
absolutely not.
What was the intent?
The intent was to preserve their initial role as the safety net provider in the community. I think that, well, I've been told, and it's my opinion as well. Sorry, not opinion. Can I say that? They have the,
Sorry, it sounded like she was about to say what she was told, which sounds a lot like
I
hearsay.
tried to pull that back, sorry.
That's why I almost.
She stopped
didn't object.
herself.
I tried, so.
Okay.
What happens when a lawyer testifies, right?
Hard.
Ms. Osmond, do you have direct awareness of whatever it is you're about to testify about?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead, continue, please.
I think the idea behind the RFP would be to preserve the CMHSPs in their initial statutory creation as the community safety net, because we do need them. They serve an essential function in our communities. They're in our jails, they are in our schools, they are in our courts. We need them to do that. The testimony from Ms. Ina yesterday was great. Like, we want them to be going to people's houses and giving them long-term acting injectables, services that are not covered by Medicaid. We really want them to be that central provider in the community.
Were you in the courtroom yesterday when Ms. Morningstar testified?
Yes,
And did you hear that she was asked several questions about how things would be operationalized?
yes,
Did you hear that to a lot of those things, her answers were, I don't know?
yes.
As the Bureau Director of the Office of Legal Affairs, does that concern you?
No.
Why not?
A lot of those decisions aren't ripe to be made yet. We need to know what the entities are going to be before we can start figuring out how to operationalize that. I would also say that that is not a unique situation for the department to be in. We didn't know how to set up temporary hospitals when the pandemic first hit. We didn't know how to distribute vaccines to all congregate care facilities. I'll give you another example that's even better. Healthy Michigan Plan Medicaid expansion was passed in 2013, September of 2013. We had to implement it by April 1st of 2014. That required contract changes, waivers to CMS, negotiations with CMS on terms and conditions, system changes, eligibility, IT infrastructure changes. And we were able to do that by April 1st of 2014. And we were so successful that we set a goal to cover 322 lives in 1 year. We were able to cover those within 100 days. So we are able to pivot and be nimble and make decisions and operationalize things on a very condensed time frame. That's what we do at the Department of Health and Human Services.
I have no further questions.
Let me write down the time here. Before you begin your cross-examination, I've been waiting for somebody with expertise from your side of the caption to take the stand so I could ask some questions to clear up some confusion that I have, and I hope you can help me with this.
I hope so.
First of all, were you in court when Ms. Gove testified?
Yes,
All right, so You heard her explanation of the various ways in which an RFP can be handled in the event that changes need to be made. Now, I wrote down three separate categories. There can be a notice of deficiency, there can be an amendment of the RFP, or there can be a pullback of the RFP for major problems. Is that an accurate characterization of the three methods you have to deal with it?
That's what I understood from her testimony.
Oh, this is not your area of expertise?
This is a different department.
Okay, sorry. Then
No,
I
that's
won't
okay.
ask any more questions
Okay.
about it. Now, we've heard some discussion about amendments to this RFP, and this is really important to me. Has this RFP been amended since this litigation started?
During the question and answer period, we identified, I think, 5 areas that needed some clarification, and we did make those amendments.
When was the most recent amendment made?
That was it. Once I think the question and answer period ends, I don't think we can make amendments anymore.
Okay, and I guess this is more,
September 12th, Your Honor.
what's that?
September 12th
Right.
was the last date.
And I guess this question is better directed to the attorneys because you would know and she wouldn't know, but I've been looking at an RFP throughout all this litigation. Is that the current version?
It is the most current version of the RFP.
Okay.
Is what you're looking at and what we're all looking at is the September 12th version.
Okay, thank you. That allayed one of the biggest concerns I had because once I started hearing about amendments, I worried that I was looking at some previous document that had been changed in some way. Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you very much. Now,
Just for the court clarification too, the plaintiff's exhibit binders 1 through 31 are all of the various RFP documents and amendments and.
oh, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So we could follow the whole train of adjustments as we follow it. Okay, that's right. I just want to make sure I have the current document because it's of no use to anybody if I write an opinion and find fault with aspects of it and everyone says, no, that's already been changed. You're wasting everyone's time. So thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Asman.
Good afternoon.
You did a legal review of the RFP, is that right?
Yes.
And that's supposed to include how to operationalize the contract, is that true?
The review included, are there ways to operationalize this in conformance with Michigan law? Yes.
A legal review is supposed to include those things.
And that's what I just said.
I just want to make sure that you agree. You only have broad strokes knowledge of how funding works at the CMHSP level, isn't that true?
Because
Isn't that true?
And foundation, I'm not sure what broad strokes involved.
I can get her deposition testimony.
Yeah. It's hard to object to an answer for lack of foundation when he's trying to explore foundation itself.
Right, can you open the binder that's in front of you, please, to tab 105?
And this is her deposition, I presume,
is.
right?
On page 106 and 107, you were asked, Ms. Asman, do you have any knowledge as to how funding works at the CMHSP level as it relates to delivering services? Your answer, are you talking about general fund or Medicaid dollars? The question was all of it. Do you know how all of that interplays with each other, with other funding streams and all of that? And your answer was, I know, like broad strokes. That was your answer, right?
what line are you looking at?
Pages 106 to 107. And specifically 107 line 2, your answer was, I know, like broad strokes.
Okay.
Is that right?
I mean, I still haven't found it.
So take a minute and
You
find
want-
it.
do you want some help?
Don't agree just to
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. All right.
It's more important to get this right.
Am I looking at the paper form? Thank you.
All right. Did I accurately read your testimony?
Yeah.
You go on to say, you know that there are buckets of money, but you don't know the exact interplay of the funding streams, correct?
Okay, that there's block grant, and I know there's some Medicaid, and I don't know the scope of services under the Medicaid.
Right?
So if you're looking
Nope. I'm looking at lines 3 through 7. You say, the question is it fair to say it's very high level? You know, there's buckets of money, but the exact interplay, you don't know. Is that fair? And you say, yeah, I mean, I know there's like braiding of funding sources, and yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You don't know how department designated community mental health entities pay for such services, true?
I know high level.
The PIHP contracts, the provider contracts, those are what pay for services. Is that right?
They pay for Medicaid eligible services.
So if a CMHSP contracts, for example, with a specialized residential provider, but the PIHP doesn't enter a provider network agreement with that same provider, how could the CMHSP contract bind the PIHP to pay the claims?
There could be a case, case agreement. We do that all the time.
So would there be an agreement between the CMHSP and the provider that would somehow require the PIHP to pay?
I think the single case agreement would be with the PIHP.
So
Those are getting negotiated in real time, and
for every single case?
no, because PIHPs generally should agree to have a lot of network providers.
You have no idea whether they're going to agree to this, utilize the network providers that the CMHSPs would choose to use, though, do you?
I don't have any reason to believe that a PIHP would not.
You don't have any reason to
Contract.
believe that they would either, do you?
If they're required by contract and they're getting paid by contract to set up an adequate network, I believe that they would take good faith efforts to contract with specialized residential to make payments to them.
Yeah, but let's say they set up a network, okay, and it meets all of your network adequacy requirements. But the CMHSP, who's charged with actually managing that service, wants to place them with a provider who's not in network.
Single
It's
case
It's
agreement.
their right to do it. How are they supposed to do it?
Single case agreement, we do it every day.
Hold on, objection pending. Go ahead.
At this point, I feel like we're getting far down the line of speculation. Let's say this, let's say this, let's say
Right.
this. She may have knowledge of something based on her experience, but right now she's speculating.
I don't want you to speculate, but I'll overrule the objection because she seemed to be trying to answer the question.
I agree, it'd probably be speculation, but I mean, if you know,
I
then
would say
great.
it's not speculation. We put people in specialized residential all over the state when they don't have contracts with the CMHSP. We do it through a single case agreement.
Okay, what is a single case agreement?
It's a single case agreement. It's not a network provider contract.
Right, it's a one-off agreement.
Right.
So every patient every recipient that the CMHSP wants to place in a non-network provider would have to have a separate single case agreement. Is that what you're saying?
I would say that's unlikely. And I would say with the new regions, because they're bigger and they're going to have more bargaining power, more purchasing power, that there's going to be less out of network specialized residential.
You have no idea whether
Yes.
that's true. do you?
Well, you don't have any idea. That's not true.
I get to ask the questions today, though. You just
Can
have
I
to
ask you a
answer.
question though? Because I really do want to know the answer to this. Under the RFP, assuming the architecture becomes the operational method for delivery of services, can a PIHP delegate to or authorize a CMHSP to enter into any financial contracts?
Not for Medicaid covered
Okay,
services.
so in other words, what they've done as the lifeblood of CMHSPs for years now, they're flatly prohibited from doing, even if they get a delegation from the PIHP.
The RFP prohibits the delegation of managed care functions to a provider.
Suffice to say, a CMHSP contract with a provider couldn't override a PIHP's utilization management decisions under the RFP, could it?
Those are operational issues that still need to be developed.
So you don't know.
I said those are to be determined.
I know, but you don't know. That's the point. I
Not
mean,
today,
If they haven't been determined, you don't know the answer, correct?
As of today,
Okay.
it's a question.
a CMHSP contract with a Medicaid provider couldn't prevent the PIHP from terminating its provider network agreement with that provider, could it?
No, and nor should it, because we do need to terminate provider contracts when they're acting poorly.
Talk a little bit about these EQI reports. Who's the actuary for MDHHS? Is it Milliman?
Yes,
Right. I'm really confused because when I was asking you questions, you said that these reports were maintained by MDHHS, and then you testified that you got them from your actuary. And so today in court, you said you got them from your actuary, who is Milliman. So does MDHHS maintain them or does Milliman maintain them?
we received them. I was confused because one version of the reports had Milliman's logo on it. And so I think we do send them to Milliman and they verify and do actuarial stuff with them and then put their logo on it.
Okay, so when you went to create this summary, or when your colleague created the summary, you asked who for these EQI reports? Milliman?
Our actuarial division within MDHHS.
Okay, so you testified earlier today in court that you got them from your actuary, and you just testified your actuary was Milliman. So,
We have an actuarial division within MDHHS as well.
and so the actuarial division is the one that actually maintains these EQI
Yes.
reports?
Yeah.
Okay, where does
In-house.
Milliman fit into all of this?
They created the spreadsheet and the template and the reporting requirements.
I thought you said the CMHSP's created these spreadsheets.
They input the data into the spreadsheets. Milliman created the template for the CMHSPs to use.
And it was Andrea Reiser that prepared these, correct?
We both did.
Do you know whether or not she used to work for Disability Rights
I
Michigan?
do know that she used to work for Disability Rights Michigan.
They're the company that's the nonprofit that submitted the amicus?
Yes,
Any coincidence?
no,
Okay.
I mean, no. Wait, I hired her well before this was coming up,
Yeah,
so.
there's no question. Let me ask, oh, by the way, these summaries, these were prepared specifically for this litigation, correct?
Correct.
These are not something that the department used to analyze trends or anything like that. You prepared them for this case
Yes,
last week, actually, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. The line that we were looking at, the first line on this page, service category is therapy, and under provider units billed, it says 6, right?
Mhm.
That's for the entire fiscal year 24, they built 6 units? Is that right?
for that service code.
Yeah, I
There's
understand.
different service
And
codes.
you're drawing a statistical conclusion. Do you think that a sample size of 6 is statistically significant given the entire Medicaid population?
I can't opine on statistically relevant.
All right.
It's just, it's illustrative of the variance among the region and the service codes.
You referenced tab 6 in the EQI reports. Do you recall that?
I do,
These are Excel spreadsheets that have a number of tabs, and tab 6 is one of them?
correct.
Can you explain why the documents that we were given to analyze didn't have any tabs? They had one tab?
I think we did.
I've looked at a couple of them, and the ones that I've looked at, I pulled them up on the computer, and there's no tab 6.
So we provided the entire report, which is huge. And then we built down another larger summary of the entire tab 6. So you could see what that is. And then this is built down a little bit further. We wanted
You
to make
gave us-
it look like,
Okay, so you provided plaintiff's counsel with a summary of the EQI reports. Is that right?
Your Honor, we provided plaintiff's counsel the documents, the witness can't speak to.
Well, if she can't, then she can tell me, but this is kind of important because it goes to whether or not these reports should be admitted. We're entitled to see the underlying data. She testified that there was a tab 6 and
I understand.
I don't see it.
Yep, right. I'll allow him to ask the questions. If she doesn't know, she can say she doesn't know. I have no idea who actually produced these and whether the person, attorney or not, who produced them did anything to them after they were handed over. Because it sounds like there's a repository at MDHHS which keeps the EQI reports, correct?
correct.
And at least I think I heard you say that that's where you got the raw EQI reports, correct?
Correct.
But All right.
But-
Go ahead, Mr.
But those raw EQI reports are not what was provided in my office. Is that what you're saying?
We gave those to you electronically.
You provided them to me, or you provided them to your attorneys?
I provided them to my attorneys to provide to you.
Okay, do you know what they actually provided to us?
I do not know.
All right, so just for the record, I have not gone through every one of these spreadsheets. I've looked at a couple of them. None of them have a tab 6. I think we need to figure that out. If the AG's office can show me a tab 6, fine, I'll withdraw the objection on that basis. Otherwise, I'm going to renew the objection.
Okay, that's fine. I understand.
Thank you. You were asked some questions about a waiver, in the competitive procurement waiver specifically. You recall that?
Yes.
The competitive procurement waiver is still in place, correct?
The only language that is in the 1115 demonstration is that we are still following the system that was put in place in 2000. It's just a sentence. It doesn't reference any regulation that was deviated from.
Right. And that was a 5-year approval that was issued in 2024, correct?
It expired in 2024
But then it was renewed,
on a temporary basis.
right, for 5 years.
No,
When's it renewed through?
for 1 year. While we negotiate some of the issues under it.
You've never worked for a CMHSP, correct?
Correct.
Never had to operationalize the duties of a CMHSP as it relates to providing SUD services, correct?
Correct.
Or inpatient hospitalization or admissions, correct?
I work very closely with the state hospital administration.
Definitely not my question. My question was, have you ever had to operationalize it?
No,
You said that the definition of a department designated community health entity as it relates to substance use disorder services, it limits the department's abilities, correct?
it defines them very narrowly into those 3 types.
But that's a definition that was set forth by the legislature, correct?
Correct.
No more questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
I have one more question before we start redirect. Under the architecture of the RFP, is there any role for a CMHSP contemplated other than that of a provider for Medicaid services? Never mind the other services, for Medicaid paid funded services.
They can be a Medicaid provider and bill Medicaid for any service, any Medicaid eligible.
Right. But other than serving in the role of a provider, I'm sure you've heard this. They create this web of contacts. They have all of these contracts with these providers. I presume all of that falls away completely.
I would disagree with that. They would have those core general fund functions.
Oh, I
So,
see. Right.
Their
They'd have,
safety net, yeah.
right. They can't use Medicaid funds to do it. So to the extent that you're concerned about administrative expenses being rolled up into some of the billing that
Correct.
includes Medicaid funding, that goes away. But the general fund dollars would still allow them to provide those sorts of
Correct. And
functions.
I would take it a step further if I'm allowed and say that the statute that requires us to push services to the CMHSP is still going to be in existence and we're still going to have that responsibility. So to the extent we're taking away Medicaid funds, we still have a responsibility to ensure the sustainability of CMHSP
Right,
for their
right.
original purpose.
But they're now financially dependent upon the PIHPs.
Right. And that's kind of what I was saying, like the department still has to, and those conversations have started.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Any redirect, Ms. Service? Oh, great. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me just get the time down here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're free to go. Okay, does that complete the afternoon's business in court? I know there's lots going on behind the scenes, but
There is, and one of the items, Your Honor, so I think court is yes, but Tim Becker just testified that he has text messages with Elizabeth Bertel that haven't been produced. So I'm letting you know so that we can address discovery issues yet again.
we'll talk.
I'm not sure if those text messages. fall into the discovery request that plaintiffs have requested?
No idea.
Can't see them.
Yep,
Or
no idea.
certainly, First, going to supplement any sort of production of music.
Okay,
So.
right. Let's see if we can sharpen this a little
Yeah.
bit before we have this discussion.
Okay. For witnesses, we're still on hold till tomorrow. Are you,
I think you guys are too, right?
you're on hold too, right? You don't have any other witnesses?
Let me ask you this, so Pam, planning it.
Oh, hang on. Let me tell Mr. Trudell, he doesn't have to take this down. This is just crosstalk. And sorry, Mr. Trudell.
No problem.
We'll go off the record. Now, does anybody have anything else for the record before I let Mr. Trudell go? We can kibitz over this stuff as long as you want. I'll stay here till we have it all worked out, but I don't know that we need to make a record of this, do we?
Not from our side.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Trudell. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, have we agreed on a start time tomorrow? This poor gentleman who's been so diligent needs to know when you'd like to start.
I know from Becker today. Well, do we want to go 10:30 then? So that we're just done with bills before lunch. All right, 10:30, Your Honor.
10:30?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start. Mr. Trudell, thank you. And now I can
Okay.
tell you to come back tomorrow at 10:30. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're
Yep.
free to go. And now let's just talk among ourselves and make sure that we're on the same page. The first thing I want to do is give you an updated count on time. Let's see, so that